do some analysis when we are doing the intersections for interrupted flow facilities. Okay. Okay. So the main the main difference between interrupted and uninterrupted flow facilities is the starting and stopping of the vehicles. I told you earlier that interrupted means that we have a fixed external interruption, okay, like traffic signal or a stop sign or a give way or yield sign or roundabout, something like this. Okay, so even if the traffic is very low, but the signal shows you red lights, you need to stop. Okay, so this is external, and you are not stopping because of other vehicles. You are stopping because you have like you have the instruction to stop, right? So interrupted flow facilities, the basic or the classifying feature between interrupted and uninterrupted is the stopping and restarting of the vehicle. So whenever you come towards an interruption, you need to stop and then you restart your vehicle to move ahead. Now, usually what happens when you are moving out from an interruption, when you are moving from one intersection to the next, there is a group of vehicles which are moving with you. Okay, so for example, you were waiting at a roundabout and you found the roundabout is empty. Now you can enter. So with you, there were 3 or 4 vehicles who this chance and who entered beside you or just behind you. So these group of vehicles which pass through one interruption together are known as platoons. Okay, so platoon is a group of vehicles which pass from one intersection to the next in a group, okay, or together. So this is the military terminology, and they call their group of soldiers or group of vehicles or tanks as platoons. So we have adopted them, and it basically means the group of vehicles which are passing from an intersection to the next together. Now these platoons show the characteristic of uninterrupted flow until they reach the next interruption. So if there are 10 vehicles which are moving together and they have passed one intersection, so until they reach the next interruption or the next intersection, they will behave as uninterrupted flow, uninterrupted traffic flow. Okay, so the equations which we have discussed earlier about volume, flow, density, average headway, average spacing, they can be applied to these platoons as well. Okay, so if you have no interruptions, then obviously the whole traffic flow is uninterrupted. But if you have, even if you have an interrupted flow facility, then between one interruption to the next, the group of vehicles show the characteristics of uninterrupted flow facilities. Okay. So this is why I said that you will select an intersection and you will be not an intersection, you will be selecting a segment and you will be doing the calculations in the middle of the segment. Okay, so in the middle there is no exit or entry or there is no interruption, right? So whatever you observe is like an uninterrupted flow, traffic flow. Okay, so this was the reason behind it. Okay, so make sure you are taking your observations. If you are, a group of 2 or 3 members, you are selecting a segment, then you take your observations in the middle. Okay, afterwards, first, okay, it was the first submission. If you did it even close to the intersection, no problem. But afterwards, okay, you do it in the middle of the segment, okay, or as far from the intersection as possible. Okay, now we will start we are starting with chapter 6, and the first thing which you'll encounter in chapter 6 is the concept of demand, volume, and capacity. Now, in terms of units and in terms of measurement, they are the same. Demand, volume, and capacity are the same. But in terms of definition, they are different. Okay, so mathematically they can be the same, but in terms of definition, they are different. So what is demand? A traffic demand is the number of vehicles that desire or want to pass from a point or segment of the highway in 1 hour. Or they are for less than 1 hour, but we have expressed them as an hourly rate. Okay, like we discussed the flow rate of flow. Okay, so demand can be as volume in 1 hour or it can be in hourly rate, flow rate. But this is basically the number of vehicles which want to pass the point or segment of the highway Then traffic volume is the actual number of people or the vehicles which are passing the point of the segment of the highway, again in 1 hour or expressed as an hourly rate. And capacity is the maximum volume or rate of flow. Again, volume is if it's for 1 hour, and rate of flow if it is an equivalent hourly rate that can pass from a point or segment of the highway. Okay, so demand is that want to pass, volume is the actual number of people passing, and capacity is the maximum which can pass. Okay. Now let me tell you the difference between them with an example. For example, you have a cylinder of 1 cubic meters. So 1 cubic meter volume is what? Its capacity. Okay, the maximum it can have. Okay, so it is the capacity, the maximum. Now, how much material you actually put into it, that will be the volume, right? That will be the volume. So in 1 cubic meters of cylinder, I can put 0.5 cubic meter as well. But 0.5 cubic meter will not be the volume. It is how much material I want to put at this time. So this is the volume. And this is also the demand as well. I wanted to put 0.5 cubic meter, I put 0.5 cubic meter. Okay, so the volume and demand is equal. Okay, because it is less than the capacity. Now let's say there is a cylinder of 1 cubic meter and you are putting 2 cubic meters into it. So how much will go into the cylinder? 1 cubic meter, and after 1 cubic meter it is full. Nothing more can enter. Okay, so the demand, so the volume will be 1 cubic meter. Capacity is 1 cubic meter. Capacity doesn't change, right? Capacity depends upon the size of the cylinder. It doesn't change. So now the volume is equal to the capacity. But what is the demand of the cylinder? How much you want to put in the cylinder? That is 2 cubic meters. Okay. Now taking the example of highways, if let's say the capacity, like you calculated in the examples which you are doing in the tutorial, it was 2100 something. So 2100 is the capacity of the segment of the highway. On that highway, let's say at 10 a.m. or right now, there are 1500 vehicles passing in 1 hour. So this will become the volume, and this is, you can see, less than the capacity. Okay, so why 1500 vehicles are passing? Because this is the demand right now. Only 1500 vehicles want to pass from there. Okay, let's say at 4 o'clock, 2200 vehicles want to pass from that segment. Capacity doesn't change, it is 2100. Volume will be equal to the capacity because more than 2100 cannot pass. So the remaining 100 plus 2100 is the demand of traffic. So 2200 is the demand, and so on and so forth. So the point is that at any point of time, any of these quantities can be equal to each other in terms of their value, but their definitions are different. Okay, so you have to keep this in mind. Now you can see the capacity, or all the three things can be expressed as vehicles per hour or persons per hour. Okay, and this is for different types of transportation systems. Some transportation systems are designed to serve vehicles, and some transportation systems are designed to serve persons. For example, a bus system is not designed to serve or maximize the number of buses. It is designed to maximize the number of persons. So if you calculate the demand and volume and capacity for a bus system, you will calculate in terms of persons per hour, not vehicles per hour. But in terms of traffic, in terms of highways, we will use vehicles per hour. Okay. Moving on, like I gave the example previously, if the demand is 2200 and the capacity is 2100 vehicles per hour. Now, as a driver, you have a decision now. Okay, if you knew about it, you can make certain decisions about your travel. One decision is to do nothing. Nothing meaning no change. Okay, this is the time I want to go. This is the place I want to go, and I have to go from this highway. Okay, and I cannot avoid my trip. So you will do what? Like I was giving you the example of the capacity of the cylinder. So you put 1 cubic meter inside the cylinder. Now you have 0.1 cubic meter extra remaining, which you want to put in the cylinder, but the cylinder doesn't have any capacity now. There is no space left in the cylinder. 1 cubic meter will go where? It will pile up on top of the cylinder, right? You will try to push it, it will not go inside, it will remain on top of the cylinder. Okay, same thing will happen to this driver as well, who is saying, okay, the road has reached its capacity and there's no more space in that on that segment, but I still have to go from there. I don't have any other choice. Okay, so this extra driver or these extra vehicles will pile up on the top of the segment, and I will show you afterwards what I mean by the top of the segment. But basically, these extra vehicles will pile up as a queue, as a saf, okay, or they also call it zahma, right? I heard it in Saudi Arabia. So these extra vehicles will cause a traffic jam, and if these drivers will say, okay, it doesn't matter even if I don't have the space, I will just wait in the traffic jam till I have my chance to move out. Okay, so this is one action of the driver, that he doesn't make any change in his travel plans and he goes ahead with his trip and he becomes a part of the queue and the part of the traffic jam. But there are other actions which may be available to some drivers. For example, these actions are written here, and these are when the demand exceeds capacity. So the segment is already filled. So we are talking about the driver actions in those cases. Okay. So he can down the route. So instead of using this segment, he can go from any other segment, and we do it quite regularly. In fact, changing of the routes. Okay, so you are coming towards an intersection and you see, okay, the intersection is completely blocked. There's a 500 meters queue out behind the intersection, and you see there's a street on your right hand side. So you turn towards that street and you try to move out of that segment from the streets, okay, taking another route, and then you can travel on any other time. Okay, so if the timing is flexible, you are going for your medical checkup, or you're going to the bank, or you are going to the post office. So usually you can, you have the whole office hours available to you. So instead of going on this time, you go on another time. Okay, shopping and so on. You can change your destination, and obviously, again, you cannot do it if you are going to school or university or your office. Huh? You don't hear anyone saying that I have changed my job because there was traffic jam on that highway. People don't do that up till now. So you can change your destination, you can change the place where you want to go if you're going for shopping. Okay, so for example, now they've started this new signal in front of Ramli Mall, and it's very close to my house, so you may be hearing a lot about this in these classes now, from now onwards. So because of that signal, the roundabout and the roundabout before the signal is now usually packed. So now if I want to buy something, I may not go towards Ramli Mall, I may look for other destinations where I can reach easily. Like even last night, I tried to avoid going there and I went somewhere else to buy the groceries. Okay, so you can change your destination if you have the option, and again, you can stay home that I will cancel my trip. Make it this trip at this time is not required and it will cause me a lot of hassle, so why not just cancel the trip? Okay, so whenever demand exceeds capacity, the driver can take any of these actions in addition to becoming the part of the traffic jam. So if you are calculating true demand of a segment when the demand is over capacity, so whatever you will measure in the segment will be maximum up to capacity. The remaining will be either behind this segment as a pile up, as a queue, or it may be these drivers who have done one of these things. Okay, so the true demand of the segment when the demand has gone above capacity cannot be measured on the field itself, because on the field the maximum number of vehicles you will see passing is capacity. It cannot be more than that. Okay, when the demand is less than capacity, obviously everybody who is coming and they see the segment is not full, so they will come, whoever wants to come, and they will pass. So demand can be calculated from the field itself, from just counting the number of vehicles. But when the demand is above capacity, this is not possible. Okay, maybe I have a question. No. So then you have to apply some other techniques to measure the true demand, and we will discuss in the coming chapters when we talk about volume studies, what are the other surveys and methods we can apply to find out the true demand of people going from one area to the other area. Okay. Now let us see what happens when the demand is above capacity, okay, to the segment. So on this slide, on the left hand side, you see there's a graph, and on the x-axis of the graph is time in minutes. On the y-axis there is flow in vehicles per minute. Okay, so you can see two lines in this graph. One of the line is representing capacity, the gray one, the horizontal one is representing capacity, this one, and one which is changing is the demand. Okay, so the capacity is according to the design of the road. Like the cylinder, it is the size of the cylinder. The size of the cylinder will not change, but your demand can change. Okay, so at 10 a.m. the demand is low, at 4 p.m. the demand is high, and so on. Okay, so you can see the demand line is changing, but the capacity is a horizontal line. Okay, and they are given in terms of flow, both of them, as vehicles per minute. Why I'm saying it is flow, why not volume? Because it is per minute. Okay, so the capacity of the road is 75 vehicles per minute. You can see the line is 75 vehicles per minute. The demand is changing. So for the first 30 minutes, the demand is 50 vehicles per minute, which is less than capacity, no problem. Then at 30 minutes, the demand goes to 120 vehicles per minute. Okay, and I'm reading 30 minutes and these things from here. Okay, so this is time 0 when I started to observe the demand. Okay, so time 0 means any time at which I started to observe the demand, at which I started my study. So from 30 minutes to 90 minutes, okay, the demand remains 120 vehicles per minute. Okay, so there are now extra vehicles on the road which will form a queue during this 1 hour. During this 1 hour, you will see a queue of vehicles. Okay, again the letter Q. Okay, and then at 90 minutes, the demand goes down to 65 vehicles per minute. So it is below capacity now. Okay. Now this 1 hour of queue will cause, this 1 hour of demand being more than capacity will cause a queue and will cause some delay as well. So let us calculate how many vehicles will be in the queue and how much time they require to get off the queue. How many vehicles will be in the queue, and in how much time the queue will be discharged. Okay. First of all, keep in mind, during the time when demand is above capacity, the queue can only extend. It cannot dissipate. It cannot discharge. It cannot be. It cannot become. It cannot be mitigated. It cannot be minimized. Okay. So during the time when demand is above capacity, the queue is growing and growing and growing. Okay. When the demand goes below capacity, so from this time onwards, the queue will start to decrease. Okay, when the demand is actually below capacity, the queue will start to decrease. Okay, before this time it cannot. Okay, now the capacity is 75 vehicles per minute, meaning 75 into 60, meaning 4,500 vehicles per hour. So 75 vehicles in 1 minute, so 4,500 vehicles in 1 hour. Okay, so in the first 30 minutes, no problem. Okay, so the demand will go as it is below the capacity. After the, what will happen in these 60 minutes? In these 60 minutes, the demand is 120 vehicles per minute. So 120 into 60 means 7,200 vehicles per hour. Okay, the capacity is how much? 4,500 vehicles per hour. The demand is how much? 7,200 vehicles per hour. Okay, so okay, and after this time, during this time, what is the demand per hour? 65 vehicles per minute, meaning 65 into 60, 3,900 vehicles per hour. Okay, so this is the demand before and after the congestion, right? Now, how many vehicles will be in the queue? The number of vehicles in the queue can be taken as the area between the demand and the capacity line. And obviously, I told you the queue will be in this time period. The queue will build up in this time period. So I'm talking about the area between the demand and capacity line in this time period. Okay, so it's a triangle, it's a rectangle. Okay, the base of the rectangle starts at 30, ends at 90. So the base is 90 minus 30, which is 60. Okay, 90 minus 30 minutes, 60. The height, this is 75, this is 120. So the height of the triangle will be, the height of the rectangle will be 120 minus 75, which will be 45. Okay, so 120 minus 75. So if you multiply them, you will get the number of vehicles in the queue, which is 2,700 vehicles. Okay, so in order to find out the number of vehicles in the queue, you take the area between the demand and capacity line when the demand is above capacity, for the time period when the demand is above capacity. Okay, so 2,700 vehicles are in the queue in this 1 hour. Now, in order to get rid of this queue of 2,700 vehicles, how much time I need? So after this time, the demand goes to 65 vehicles per hour, 65 vehicles per minute. So there are still 65 vehicles coming per minute. So these 65 vehicles have to leave, right? Now, what is the extra capacity that is left in the segment for the vehicle in the queue? So the capacity of the segment is 75 vehicles per minute. So in addition to the 65 vehicles which are coming on the segment, I can discharge 10 vehicles per minute from the queue, because the demand is 65 and the number of vehicles which are which can go through the segment is 75. Okay, so this extra, this flexibility of 10 vehicles will be taken from the queue. Okay, so every minute 10 vehicles will discharge from the queue. Okay, so we have 2,700 vehicles in the queue. Every minute 10 vehicles are discharging. So how many minutes we need to get rid of the queue? 2,700 upon 10, this is 270 minutes. Okay, and these 270 minutes will start from there, meaning the queue discharge will start from what time? When T is 90. Okay, when the demand, as I said, when the demand goes below capacity, that is the time when you start to discharge the queue. So these 2,700 vehicles will start to discharge when the time is 90, and they need from 90 onwards 270 minutes extra to discharge. So 90 plus 270 will be 360 minutes total. Okay, so at time 360 the queue will be discharged. And how much time it took to discharge the queue? From 90 to 70 minutes extra. Okay, so in this graph and this slide, you have seen how we can calculate the number of vehicles in the queue and how we can calculate the time required to discharge the queue. Now let us go to the other slide where we will see how to calculate the delay for each vehicle. The delay for each vehicle. So in this slide on the graphs, you see on the x-axis there's time, but on the y-axis I have changed the units. On the y-axis I have cumulative vehicles now. So it's not the rate of vehicle per minute. It's the cumulative number of vehicles which are passing from the or which are arriving or departing at the segment. So you can see again two lines in the graph. One is for vehicles arriving and one is for vehicles departing. How many vehicles are coming to the segment and how many vehicles are departing from the segment. Both are cumulative number of vehicles total. Okay, so 10 more vehicles come, they will add. 20 more vehicles come, we will add, and we will keep on adding the new vehicles. Okay, now you can see in the first 30 minutes, vehicles arriving and vehicles departing line is the same. Why? Because the demand was below capacity. So the vehicles arriving were equal to demand, were equal to vehicles departing. At time 30, vehicles arriving were more and vehicles departing were less. So if you take the slope of this line, this will give you the capacity, vehicles per minute. And if you take the slope of this line, it will give you the demand of the segment, which will again be vehicles per minute. See, on the y-axis, vehicle, on the x-axis, time in minutes. You take the slope, vehicles per minute. Okay, so the slope of this line is equal to capacity and the slope of this line is equal to demand. But we saw the demand is changing. So you can see there are two different slopes here for the demand. Okay, so the first slope is for this time period from 30 to 90. Okay, so so here the rate of vehicles arriving were 120 vehicles per minute, right? After that, the demand dropped. So now we are in this period, and you can see a different slope here. Now, why the number of vehicles arriving is still higher than number of vehicles departing in this time period? This is because of the queue. The number of vehicles arriving are not actually leaving the segment. Okay, they are not actually leaving the segment. They are becoming part of the traffic jam. They are becoming part of the queue. So until you remove the whole queue, the number of vehicles arriving cannot be equal to the number of vehicles departing. Okay, so until I remove the queue completely, the queue which was generated in this time, I cannot make the arrival equal to departure vehicles. Okay, the arrival rate cannot be equal to departure rate, or the number of vehicles arriving cannot be equal to departing vehicles. So arriving vehicles are still in the queue. So number of vehicles arriving are still higher. Okay, and the number of vehicles departing is still lower because of the queue. The number of vehicles departing is less. So until you get rid of the queue, number of vehicles arriving cannot be equal to number of vehicles departing. Okay, but you can see a different slope of the number of vehicles arriving, because now the demand is actually less than the capacity. Okay, so if you want to calculate the delay will be the area between the arrival line and the departure line on this graph. The area between the arriving vehicles line and the departing vehicles line on this graph. So the area between this line and this line. Okay, so obviously when these lines become the same, there is no area between them, right? So in this portion and in this portion, the area is 0. So there is no delay in this portion and in this portion. Okay, so all the delay is here. Okay, so from here to here, I know this is time 30 and this is time 90 when the queue started and when the demand dropped below capacity. Okay, I know these points. What is this point? You see, this is time 360. 20 is 360. How did I get 360? Starting from 90, I need 270 minutes extra to dispatch the queue, right? I calculated it here. 10 vehicles per minute will be dispatched. So in order to dispatch 200, 700 vehicles, you need 270 minutes starting from 90. So this is, you start from 90 plus 270 will give you 360. Okay, so at time 360, the queue will completely go off and the arrival will become equal to departure. Okay, so I know the points on the timeline. Okay, now how do I calculate the area between them? I will take it as one triangle. You can see this is one triangle and this is another triangle. So this will be the area of two triangles. Okay, the delay will be the area of two triangles. Okay, so area of triangle is half base into height. So half, what is the base of the first triangle? This is 0.90, T90, and this is T30. So 90 minus 30 will give you the base of the triangle, and 2700. Okay, how did I get 2700? Number of vehicles which arrived, number of vehicles which departed at this time till this time, and number of vehicles which arrived at this till this time. Okay, so a difference between them. So how do I know the number of vehicles arrived and number of vehicles departed this time? I already calculated here. See, number of vehicles departed, capacity 4,500. Number of vehicles arrived, 7,200. How did I get it? 120 vehicles per minute were coming into 60. 60 the time in which you had the demand above capacity. Okay, so these values are coming from here. So 7,250 minus 4,550, the value will be 2,700. Okay, you can obviously, if you have plotted these graphs yourselves, you can measure it from the graph as well. Yeah? Then you do not have to calculate. But obviously, I did not make this graph. This is from the book, so I do not know the exact value. So I will refer to the calculation which I showed you in the previous slide. Okay, so basically, this is the difference between the number of vehicles arriving and number of vehicles departing, the capacity during the time when the demand was above capacity, and we already calculated it is 2700. Okay, then half of the area of this triangle. So again, half into base. What is base? Starting from 90 going up to 360. So the base will be 360 minus 90. 360 minus 90. Okay, so 360 minus 90, and the vertical difference is the same, 2700 vehicles. It is 0 here and it is 2700 here. So 2700 vehicles. Okay, so half base into height for both the triangles. Okay, you add them, you will get 445,500 vehicles minute. This is a unit of delay. Unit of delay. Okay, and how did I get it? I multiplied minutes into vehicles, so the unit will be vehicle minutes. This is what you multiplied, right? This is 2700 number of vehicles, and 90 minus 30 is what? Minutes. So the units of delay are vehicle minutes. Okay, or if you want to express it in vehicle hours, then you divide by 60. So it becomes 7,425 vehicle hours. So total delay caused because of 1 hour being above capacity is 7,425 hours. 7,425 hours, which is a lot, obviously. Huh? Now, will this delay be faced by vehicles which are arriving during time 30 and 90? No. Okay, because even after time 90, when t was 90, up to when time is 360, vehicles which are coming during this time also have the queue present on the segment, right? So until the queue completely goes off, the new vehicles will also face some delay. Okay, so you see, for example, let's say this is the line of the delay. This is the line of the queue, line of the vehicles. Okay, and this is the new vehicle which has come to this point. So can this vehicle pass this segment until all these vehicles have gone? No. So this vehicle has to wait behind the queue. So this vehicle is also facing delay. So vehicles which are arriving from time 90 to time 360 are also facing delay. So the delay which is caused because of this 1 hour is not faced by the vehicles which are arriving this 1 hour. In this 1 hour, it is faced by any vehicle which is coming from time 30 to time 360, because the queue starts at time 30 and it will end, or it will dissipate at time 360. So whoever comes during the time of the queue has to join the queue and will face some delay. Okay, so how many vehicles will face the delay? Okay, so 120 vehicles per minute is the rate of the vehicle coming during the 1 hour when the queue is building up. So 60 minutes into 120 per minute. So this is the number of vehicles which will face the delay. Okay, and they are basically the vehicles which are forming the queue, and vehicles which are arriving in the queue discharge time. Okay, so in the queue discharge time, the rate of the vehicle is 65. How much? 65 vehicles per minute. And how much time we require to dispatch the queue, which is 270. Okay, so 65 vehicles per minute for there are some problems happening with my laptop. They keep on coming and going. So hopefully, yeah, hopefully they will not happen next time. Anyways, so I was saying that which vehicles will face the queue, will face the delay? The vehicles which arrived from the start of the queue till the end of the queue. Okay, so the queue started at time 30. At time 30 to time 90, the rate of vehicle was 120 per minute. So 120 per minute to 60 minutes, because from 30 to 90 you have 60 minutes. And then after from time 90, I need 270 minutes extra to get rid of the queue. Okay, so that will be 270 into the rate of vehicle, which is 65. So how many vehicles are facing the delay? 24,750. See, 24,750 vehicles are facing the delay. Okay, so because of 2,700 vehicles, 24,000 vehicles are facing the delay. Okay, so you can see, if you just said that, okay, fine, there will be a delay of, or there will be a queue of 2,700 vehicles, and only these vehicles face the queue, you are underestimating the effect of the queue. Okay. So total 24,750 vehicles will face the delay till the start of the queue, till the end of the queue, till the queue is completely gone. So how much delay per vehicle? So I already have the total delay for all the vehicles. Okay, and I'll divide it by the number of vehicles which will face the delay. So it will be 445,500 vehicle minutes of delay divided by 24,750 vehicles which are facing the delay. So per vehicle delay is 18 minutes. So each vehicle is facing 18 minutes of delay. Imagine 18 minutes of delay each vehicle. Okay, it's a lot. That's like your whole travel time for your small trips, right? So this is the effect of the delay and the effect of the congestion. Okay, they have long-lasting effects. Okay, and you can see from time 30 to time 360. So this is more than 3 hours, or sorry, more than 5 hours. So there will be a queue for more than 5 hours on the road, and vehicles which are arriving during this queue time will face a delay of 18 vehicles per minute. Okay. Now in this example, what you saw was a breakdown situation. What is the breakdown situation? When the volume arriving at a location or at a point is more than the capacity of the point, more than the capacity of the segment. We call it a breakdown. And the point at which the arrival volume becomes more than the capacity of the segment, we will call it a breakdown point. Okay. So for example, this is a segment. Okay. And the number of vehicles which are coming to this segment at this point are more than the capacity of the segment. Let me shift it here. Okay, fine. So let's say at this point, the number of vehicles which are arriving at the segment are more than its capacity. Okay, so this point becomes my breakdown point, and the situation will be called as a breakdown. Okay, going back to the example of the cylinder. Okay, what happens? So the top of the cylinder will become your breakdown point, right? And what is on top of the cylinder? The extra material which you wanted to put in the cylinder. So you wanted to put 1.1 cubic meter, the capacity was 1 cubic meter, so 0.1 cubic meter will be piled up on the top. So what is happening behind this point? Behind this point, you have the pile up of the vehicles, the queue, the line of the vehicles, which are waiting for their turn to get into the segment. They cannot get into the segment because their number was more than the capacity of the segment, so they will pile up here. Okay, so this point will become the breakdown point, and this situation is known as a breakdown situation. Now, which points normally act as breakdown points? So breakdown points are normally where you have different roads or segments merging with each other. For example, at the exit of an on-ramp. So for example, this is like a bridge. So let's say this is a bridge, and there's a ramp coming from this side on the bridge. So maybe the bridge is already up to its capacity. So the vehicles which want to come on the bridge from the ramp will have to wait for their turn here. So this will become their breakdown point, and this situation will be called as a breakdown. Major merge points, sometimes two highways are merging into a single segment. For example, you say this green one is one highway, this black one is another highway, and they are merging into this third one. Okay, so if the flow of the vehicles from both the highways is more than the capacity of the segment, then obviously you will have a breakdown at this point. Okay, so the breakdown will be at this point. So you will have a queue of vehicles on both the highways because the number of vehicles arriving is more than the capacity of the merging section where they want to merge. Okay, and similarly intersections can be breakdown points. So like I gave the example of these two highways, intersections have volume coming from three directions, right? So it may happen that the volume which is coming from 2 or 3 directions, and they want to go towards a direction which is already reached its capacity. So the intersection will become a breakdown point, and obviously this scenario will be called as a breakdown scenario. Okay. So I will stop here And yeah, so we'll stop here, and inshallah we will continue tomorrow. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Okay, otherwise I will move to the attendance. Okay, I'm starting from section 2. Okay, Dua Rabi. Okay. Amna Muhammad. Amna Muhammad. Okay. Muhammad Usama. Muhammad Usama. Okay. Amal Abdullah. Amal. Okay. Muhammad Noman. Muhammad Noman. Muhammad Noman. If I mark your attendance, you can leave. If you don't have any questions and I mark your attendance, you can leave. Muhammad Noman. Not here. Ali Muhammad. Okay. Hakima Ali. Okay. Zahra Sayyid Ali. Zahra Sayyid Ali. Okay.
Yes, teacher.
Yes, yes. Abdullah Jaliluddin. Abdullah Jaliluddin. Ibrahim. Abdurrahman Ibrahim. Okay. Nujud Salah. Nujud Salah. Nadeen Hussam. Zahra Riyad Khalid. Abu Bakr, yeah, Abu Bakr Ghani Tahir. Okay. Zainab Ali Ahmad. Okay. Aisht Bashar. Okay. Asil Ali. Asil Ali. Ali Mustafa. Ali Mustafa. Ali Mustafa. Ahmad Khalid. Ahmad Khalid. Okay. Abdullah Usamuddin.
Yes, doctor.
Ahmad. Fatma Abdali. Zainab Abdali. Okay. Zainab Abdul Al. Okay. Ala Salman. I said, if I mark you at presence, you can leave. Isra Abdul Karim. Ali Abdul Razak. Ali Abdul Razak. Ali Abdul Razak. Elizabeth Ann. Elizabeth Ann. Okay. Ali Makki. Ali Makki. Okay. Ibrahim Muhammad. Okay, I'm calling out the absentees. Muhammad Noman. Ali Mustafa. Ali Abdul Razak. People from section 1. Iman Kamil. I'm calling out from section
Yes.
1 now.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, doctor.
Ahmad Majid. Ahmad Majid. Mariam Isa. Mariam Isa. Okay, Ali, just give me a second. I'll mark you. Okay, done. Okay, assalamu alaikum. I will see you guys tomorrow, inshallah.